while since I've done one of these, but let's get into it. I'm going to show you how to set up the new MIDI capability on the Strymon pedals with your Boss MS-3. Now, this isn't a video on how to update this pedal. That's a whole nother category. This is assuming that you have it up and running and you're ready to just integrate it with your MS-3. So, if you want to look at what I've got going on here, see if I can get this to, there we go. So I want you to be able to see that screen and maybe some LEDs. I know it's a little dark, but it's just so you can see this display here. So the first one is bypass, and I have my daughter sleeping in the next room, so I'm going to be kind of quiet. But you can hear that it's just a straight guitar into the amp, and it says bypass. When I go to the next one, it's a light OD, and you can see, oh, by the way, that one's set up to actually bypass the pedal because it's saved in the bypass state. The bypass state of the pedal is saved per preset, so you can set it up either way. I'm not sending any like CC 102, 0 and 127 kind of thing. It's all saved within the program change. Anyway, moving on. The light OD activates the pedal. And then we can go on to the next one, and it is a crunch. We're just getting a little more. High gain. Alright, I don't want to play too much of that and wake everybody up. But let's look at how to set this up if you wanted to set up your own kind of presets. It's kind of impossible to see this guy and this guy at the same time unless I do a bunch of multiple cameras and editing, and I just don't want to do that. So I'll go back and forth manually, and we'll just look at what's what. So let's talk about that first one that bypasses, this guy. You can set this up to either be a preset in waiting or just a straight up bypass, in other words, pedal off. In this case, I was just using it as pedal off. But if you were to bring this up and then turn the pedal on, it would be whatever preset you had. And then it would bypass again, or you could just... So to set that up, I have the Riverside currently on channel 2, because I was using it with my Chase Bliss Faves, which also works to control this thing. So let's dive into these settings and look at what I'm doing. So I'm going to edit this. Whoops. I always not know which knob to turn. We're going to get into control, and then we're going to go MIDI patch 2. I just keep it on whatever channel I'm assigned to. I'm going to enter that. And I do this on all my Chase Bliss pedals too. I just make preset 10 a bypass so I can engage and bypass my pedals just by sending a program change. And you can ignore all the other stuff that's on these pages. So just make sure that you're in channel 2. And then whichever preset you want to send it to, I'm just choosing 10. And we're just going to write that. Now we're going to get back out of there. So I'm going to get, you got to go into it, kind of like you do on Chase Bliss pedals. So we're going to set this up as bypassed. If you wanted to set up a preset in waiting, you can also do that. Say you wanted this to be like a kind of a mild, kind of something like that. You could set that up in waiting, but we're doing a bypass. So what it does is it saves the pedal in whatever the current configuration is. So I have to bypass it, and it saves in that current configuration. So to save a preset, you press and hold the favorite switch until it starts blinking blue. Then you release. If you let it sit there, it'll go back to normal, but what we want to do is send it that program change now. You see it stopped blinking and it turned amber. It's kind of hard to tell with this lighting, but that's amber. So now if we go out of that and we go back into it, there's our bypassed preset. And if we engage, there's the light overdrive. Even if I make this crazy, make it high gain, whatever, once I engage it, it's still on mild because it's recalling that saved position. So it's literally the same for all the others. Let's go back into this screen here. So now I'm recalling number 2, which was the light overdrive. Pretty much everything you've watched in this video is you're already where you need to be, but I'll show you another one of these. We're gonna edit, go over to control, enter, patch 2, and this one is 11. Remember the bypass was 10, so 11 I think of as like 1, 12 is 2. That's how I do my presets. I just leave the first 9 as like kind of stuff I can do on the fly, but these are my actual saved ones for long term. And then we just write that. This would be where you would name it if you wanted to. Let's zoom back out now. So that one's ready to go. Named, and the proper, whatever program change you want it to be on. Now you have to set up the pedal the way that you like it. So this would be a light overdrive. Make that low gain, of course. Basically, it's what I had in waiting. But let's make it a little tastier. Let's say we had no bass and just a bunch of treble. See that? Let's say that was our preferred light overdrive. So however the pedal currently is, you have to do the cable yank thing. Anyway, the old cable yankaroo. So pull the TRS cable out. I should have talked about how I have this connected. We'll talk about that in just a second. So pull the cable out. This is so you can recall a slot next to it without having to change the preset. So now let's double check to make sure we're still on that really thin, brittle drive. Press and hold there till it blinks blue. Send the program change, and there we are. So bypass, preset and waiting, that thinned out one. Alright, I don't need to go over the rest of them. You kind of know what's going on. Let's talk about how I have this thing set up. It's pretty similar, being that this is TRS MIDI. It's similar to, if you're familiar with Chase Bliss, Empress, Maris. These guys have all been in the TRS MIDI game for a while. So all I have here, let's trace my signal. I have a standard MIDI cable. Sorry for all the wires, but I'll walk you through it. That MIDI cable goes into a Chase Bliss MIDI box, powered. And then I'm coming out of one of my outputs, and I believe this is the part I haven't figured out yet. I'm pretty sure this is transferring on the tip and not the ring, because this one's backwards, which I have that one set to tip. Let me see if it's going on the ring here. Yeah, so I think, pretty sure they're doing tip. Let's try this out real quick. That was a TRS cable, but I'm going to use a standard guitar cable. Alright, here's just a regular tip and sleeve, so here's a little moment of discovery. That's going into, so just to clarify here, the output jacks on a Chase Bliss MIDI box can be set up to send either on the ring or the tip of the jack. And the ones that I do tip, I always turn the nut backwards so I know that it's on the tip, and the standard one is on the ring. So this one's on the ring, and these three are on tip, which is usually what I do. So, yeah. So that's working, which is standard guitar cable. So this is similar to the way that Maris and Empress do it. They're on the tip, Chase Bliss is on the ring. So to clarify, when you're using a Chase Bliss cable, you have to use a TRS because Chase Bliss is going to receive the MIDI signal right here on that ring. The Riverside is receiving it on the tip. And this worked just because it's a TRS cable and it has a tip. You know, it's kind of overkill. And in some applications it might even get kind of weird, but it worked. So that's the MIDI signal. 5-pin MIDI into MIDI box, and then out the tip of this guy to the Riverside. Could you bypass all of this and just use a cable that goes 5-pin to tip? You could, I bet. I think I even have one. Let's see. The giant thing of cables here. That would be the same way that Empress does it. So let me see if I have one of my Empress cables that I've made over the years. Yeah, so this one says Empress, and all that means is that I've modded it to go from a 5-pin to the tip. Because at the time that I was doing that, it was kind of only Empress that was doing that. And then Maris got into doing that. And this one's kind of weird, so it might not even work. I've had to mod quite a few things on that cable. But let's see what we get, because that's fun. Yep, so that's working. So just a standard, and I'm not endorsing this yet. I haven't given it, months of use to see that it would work in a bunch of different applications or long term, or this is just a very simple setup, so we've got to take what we can get. But if I dim these lights, you can see that it is in fact changing. All right. I think that wraps it up for now. Thanks for watching.